Welcome to Granny Shares the Bible. I'm going to start today in Exodus chapter 8. And it says, And the Lord spake unto Moses, Go unto Pharaoh, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Let my people go, that they may serve me. And if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs. Frogs? How did the Lord think of that? Would you like to have frogs all in your house? Listen to where they were. And the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into thine house, and into thy bedchamber, and upon thy bed, and into the house of thy servants, and upon thy people, and into thine ovens, and into thy kneading troughs. And the frogs shall come up both on thee, and upon thy people, and upon all thy servants. Frogs everywhere. Imagine where you're sitting right now, and there's frogs. I'm sitting at my table. Frogs all over my table. When I get up to walk around, there's frogs I'm going to step on. Squish, pop. I guess they pop. I don't know. Everywhere. Frogs everywhere. In the refrigerator. They didn't have refrigerators then, but in their kneading troughs, in their ovens. They're eating frogs, or they're not eating because the frogs are everywhere. Whoa, they're on them. They just jump on them. Have you ever had a frog jump on you? You know how it feels? His little paw things are all cold and wet. No, don't want one frog on me, much less a bunch of them. Anyhow, this was the second plague that you remember yesterday, the river became blood. And I don't know if the frogs and the blood were overlapping. I don't think so, but I don't know. And I don't know if what happened when after a while, maybe the blood flowed away because the river kept flowing. I don't know. But it doesn't tell you. But this is some kind of plague, the plague of frogs. And the Lord spake unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Stretch forth thine hand with thy rod over the streams, over the rivers, and over the ponds, and cause frogs to come up upon the land of Egypt. And Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. Someone that came from up north remarked on how many lizards we have down here. They don't bother me, but there are a few. But they're not all over. Sometimes one will get in my house, but usually they can't stand in my house because they just die. There's no food in my house for them to eat. So if they stay in my house, they don't live. But I have seen many this year, but not all over the place. Not in my oven. Not in my food. Can you imagine these frogs all over? And Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. Listen, and the magicians did so with their enchantments, and brought up frogs upon the land of Egypt. What good were they? If I had been Pharaoh, I'd have said, Get rid of these frogs. Y'all got power, get rid of these frogs. I'm sure he probably did. Well, listen to what happened. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, Entreat the Lord that he may take away the frogs from me and from my people, and I will let the people go, that they may do sacrifice unto the Lord. This is the one that said, Who is the Lord? Who is the Lord? Let me go back where he first spoke to him. And he said, Who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? Who is the Lord? Then came the blood, now the frogs. And now he's saying to Moses and Aaron, Entreat the Lord. Entreat means ask him earnestly. Talk to him for me. Get him to do this for me. Entreat the Lord that he may take away the frogs from me and from my people. And I will let the people go that they may do sacrifice unto the Lord. Entreat the Lord for me. You know, something about the human race is though this man was a king of Egypt. If you remember, Pharaoh was king, and when Joseph talked to Pharaoh, well, that Pharaoh listened to Joseph and believed in the Lord. Though Pharaoh here is beginning to believe, he's not considering that he's a human too. And that though Moses and Aaron knew God, that he himself could have talked to God and asked for help. But he didn't learn in that direction. He wanted to keep the children of Israel in slavery. And he was caught between this rock and a hard place of, I can't let them go because I need them. But if I don't let them go, this Lord, this God of theirs, is giving me a fit. Now there's frogs. There was blood, now there's frogs. So he just asked Moses and Aaron, entreat the Lord that he may take away the frogs from my people. And I will let the people go that they may do sacrifice unto the Lord. And Moses said unto Pharaoh, glory over me. How come he said that? Glory over me. When shall I entreat for thee and for thy servants and for thy people, to destroy the frogs from thee and thy houses, that they may remain in the river only? It sounded like Moses was saying, are you really going to do it? Are you really going to let them go? And when do you want me to ask the Lord to get rid of the frogs? That they remain in the river only. When do you want me to do it? Glory over me. I can't say that from word by word, but it sounds like what is called an idiom, a phrase that means something that the individual words don't mean. Glory over me. I feel like Moses was saying, I'm amazed. Glory's all over me. It's happening. God's going to move it. God's going to cause him to let us go. Glory over me. When shall I entreat for thee? When do you want me to? And listen to what Pharaoh said. And he said, tomorrow. Tomorrow. Wait a minute. There are frogs everywhere. They're crawling on them. They're having to eat them. They're everywhere. And he said, tomorrow. What was he doing? He was not wanting to let the people go. I can put up with the frogs another day because I still want these people. Tomorrow. And he said, be it according to thy word. That's Moses talking. That thou mayest know that there is none like unto the Lord our God. He was proud of God then, right? That moment he was very proud of God. Why? Because God had done it, he thinks. He thinks, oh, you did it with the frogs. The blood didn't do it, but now the frogs are going to do it. And so, glory over me, he said. And verse 11, and the frogs shall depart from thee, and from thy houses, and from thy servants, from thy people, they shall remain in the river only. And Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh. And Moses cried unto the Lord because of the frogs which he had brought against Pharaoh. And the Lord did according to the word of Moses, and the frogs died out of the houses, out of the villages, and out of the fields. And they gathered them together upon heaps, and the land stank. thousands and thousands and thousands of frogs, all dead. Heaps of them, stinking. And when Pharaoh saw that there was respite, he hardened his heart, and hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said. Oh, Moses. Moses, I think he thought this was going to be it, that he was going to let him go. But Pharaoh did not. He hardened his heart and didn't let him go. And the Lord said unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Stretch out thy rod, and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so. For Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod, and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast. All the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. Lice. Have you ever had lice? If you lived in Highland City, you've had lice. I have. I remember one day I was talking to a lady, and we were talking with our heads close together. You know, I don't know why. I was feeling for her, and she was telling me things. And the next thing I know, I had lice, because I guess one had jumped over from her head to mine. And it was during a time, I don't hear about them as much now as I used to. I guess maybe I don't have as much contact with so many children. But there were, in Highland City, they'd have to go home because they had lice. They had lice. Always some child had lice. And I've had them, and they're horrible. You feel so filthy when you have lice. They're crawling in your hair. These are head lice. They're crawling in your hair. And you don't want them. You don't want anything crawling in your hair. So it's horrible. You go in there and you try to get them rid of them. Wash your hair every day. I wash my hair in alcohol. About killed myself with the alcohol, but it got rid of them. Anyhow, these were everywhere. They weren't just in their hair. They were all over them. Can you imagine them crawling under your arms and crawling in your neck and just everywhere? Lice scratching them because they're itching you. And this is what was happening in Egypt. The lice were all over them. The dust of the earth became lice. And you know right now, I can go in there and I can pound on my couch, and if there's sunbeams, I've seen this happen, sunbeams coming across in the room, I'll see something, it's dust. You don't even know that things are dusty that are dusty. It's just dust. And the Bible says here, all the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. Horrible. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. You know why? There wasn't any dust left that weren't lice. Plus, they were just magicians. God wouldn't let them. And there were lice upon man and upon beast. So all the dogs and the cats and the horses and the camels and the everything had lice. Everything were crawling with lice. And the Lord said unto Moses, Rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh. Lo, he cometh unto thee. Thus saith the Lord, Let my people go, that they may serve me. Wait, I missed a verse. No wonder. I was going right on into the next one. Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, This is the finger of God. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord had said. So, didn't matter if he was covered with lice. Didn't matter. I'm not going to let him go. I'm not going to let him go. Then we read the next verse. And the Lord said unto Moses, Rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh. Lo, he cometh forth to the water, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Let my people go, that they may serve me. All right now, what's happened to the lice? He didn't ask them to get rid of the lice. So I guess they're just washing themselves and figuring out how to get rid of lice. That's what you do when you have lice. You figure out how to get rid of them. And you get a little comb so you can get the nits out. I mean, it's awful. It's awful. Lice are awful. So the magicians couldn't do it, but that didn't make Pharaoh let them go. It just made him mad, probably. Made him think, it's God. It's God, and I'm not letting them go. Just made him harder and harder. All right, so here's God speaking again through Moses. Let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if thou wilt not let my people go, wait till tomorrow. I'm going to tell you what happened then. Oh my. We'll leave him with the lice for the night. He was willing to go through the night with the frogs. But now, oh, lice are horrible. So we will see what happens. I guess they just had to somehow try to rid themselves of the lice because God didn't make them go away. All right, next is something new that God was going to send. I just want to think about our God. I want us to think about how inventive, how his mind is so with us, understanding what will torment those Egyptians. Oh yeah, they have a God with a frog face. I'll send the frogs. They can't drink blood. No, I'll send that. He'll let them go? No, he won't. Then I'm going to send lice. Oh, I don't know. You know, we have a compassionate God, but we also have a God that knows how to get down into people's hearts and minds and lives and make them understand you can't fight against me. No matter how hard you try, you can't fight against me. There's no fighting against me. Oh, if you're one that's been trying to fight against God, remember the blood and the frogs and the lice. Don't do it. Okay, I'm going to go, and I'll see you tomorrow, Lord willing.